Welcome to your feature presentation, the podcast where we bring you the latest and greatest movies in pop culture. Today we're talking all about the 28 Days series. We're talking the new Highlander movie, the new Spielberg movie about UFOs. It's going to be a great, great episode. So here we go. Jurassic World is coming out this weekend.
Yes.
Things are looking up. We're going to talk about that a little later on in the episode. But we have a new Steven Spielberg movie coming out that's pretty excited. Have you heard about this at all, Andrew?
No, I've not. You said UFO movie, and immediately I go, E.T.
Yeah. So yeah, Spielberg is directing a new UFO movie releasing June 12th, 2026. It's written by Spielberg and David Koepp, I believe, so who did Jurassic Park and War of the Worlds. Cool. Stars Emily Blunt, Josh O'Connor, Colin Firth, Wyatt Russell, and so it's actually already wrapped. So they don't actually know what it's going to be called yet. But this is the first time Spielberg has done anything extraterrestrial since like Close Encounters of the Third Kind or E.T. Like,
wow, yeah.
I feel like when you think of Spielberg, you think of him doing this kind of thing, but this is actually the first time he's come back to anything. Maybe, well, you could say Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull, but we don't talk
that was
about
super terrestrial.
Yeah, very
terrestrial.
Extra. It was something extra, I'll tell you that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, what are your thoughts on that? Does that get you excited?
That sounds really fun. I feel like I've been in a weird slump with Spielberg. I couldn't tell you the last time, like in the last 10 years, that I went and purposefully saw a Spielberg movie. Not that he's done anything bad, but we love horror movies. We love adventure, action, and I feel like he's gotten very sentimental and like drama focused with his movies. Maybe that's a bit off base, but I'm very excited for him to go back to a little kind of adventure action story with some UFOs. That's a great vibe. I love that.
Yeah, I think for me, it was like he's such a great director and he's done so many good things that it's like if he's done great things. But yeah, I think, I don't know, I've never saw Bridge of Spies.
Yeah, like historical dramas he did a lot of, yeah.
Yeah, but then I think that was probably, I would say the last great movie he did was probably Lincoln, which was 2012.
Wow.
I mean, there's others that's not bad. I haven't seen The Post. I really enjoyed Ready Player One, but I don't think that was like a great movie. I think that was like a fun movie, you know. West Side Story.
Watch for me.
Right. But so I don't know. I'm excited about this kind of return to a form for him, and I think he does it so well. Just like the touch it. It's like character-driven stories, family stories that touch on a little extraterrestrial. I think he does that really well. So I'm definitely excited for that. Have you ever seen Highlander?
No. I know it's the immortal Scottish sword fighter with a terrible, terrible accent, to be honest.
Yeah, it's rough. When people are always like, oh man, the first one's always the best. You know, it's like, I mean, hopefully that's not true for Highlander, but you could have a pretty subpar movie of Highlander and it would be better than the original. But it's a fun idea. It's super cheesy, super 80s. Just, it's this like, I don't even know the story that well. I've seen the first few, but I don't remember. I think they're just immortals for some reason. Maybe if you kill an immortal, you become an immortal. Something like that, but they're all like they're strung along somehow. And so the big thing is there can be only one, and so they're trying to like fight each other and just like become the only immortal. But it seems to just be for like posterity. Like there's no like, I don't know. Yeah. It's like I always loved, like we talked about it last week, the movie Underworld, just like that kind of Matrix, but like these immortal vampires, and they have like a secret government and they're kind of like lacing themselves through time and things like that. Like there's actually a point, even those movies are also very cheesy, you know, but it's funny with something like Highlander. I'm like, I don't even know what are you guys doing? It's like, well, you know, we're Scottish and we're immortal. It's like, hey, there you go.
We're Scottish. And I remember a clip of this movie is one of the swordsman. I don't know, maybe it's the main character is fighting with a katana at some point. I'm like, dude,
Yeah.
aren't you Scottish? Like, shouldn't you have like a big broadsword or something like that? I don't know. I haven't seen it. Maybe he adopts the ancient fighting ways through all the ages. But I was like,
Yeah.
katana.
Yeah. Yeah. And they have, oh my gosh, who's James Bond, the original James Bond? Sean Connery.
Sean Connery.
I answered it myself. I got it first.
I got it.
I got
Don't you answer it for me.
He's like the trainer of like the main character. And it's like, oh, it's a Scottish immortal movie. And they have a very like Scottish actor, right?
Yeah.
Nope. He's Spanish in this movie. He's like, yeah, straight up
his
like
accent was also really weird. In some
Yeah.
of his clips. Oh man.
because you can get a Scottish guy
Oh.
to have with an English accent, but Scottish guy speaking as a Spaniard is
Being a
little rough.
Spaniard.
And they gave him
That
a really heavy
explains
tan.
The dyed black. Yeah, I was gonna say that explains the dyed black mustache and the tan.
Yeah, super weird movie. It's like entertaining,
choice.
but it's crazy. But anyway, so they're making a new one starring Henry Cavill as the main character, and the big thing is like his mentor, which is the Sean Connery character, and that's being played by Russell Crowe. So like they actually have some like
Interesting.
decent people in those roles. It's directed by Chad Stahelski, who did he was a big part of the John Wick franchise. So to me, that it feels I love the casting and the director, because we know that means this is going to be a like fairly well done, but it's going to be focused on action. This is not a drama. They're trying to get the people who like this movie before, or like we want to watch like a John Wick, Conan the Barbarian, just like guys being dudes kind of movie. You know what I mean? That's what I kind of feel.
Yeah.
What's better than this? Am I right?
What's better than dudes being guys?
Yeah. So then that's going to be fun. And then the next thing that you have here is you have a little X-Men news for us.
Yeah. So we're on the curtails of Thunderbolts being pulled from theaters. Sad news, I think. But good news for Jake Schreier, who is the director of Thunderbolts. He's reported to be the director for the X-Men, the first X-Men movie, whenever that happens in the MCU. This is literally the only news that I've heard about this project. There are some rumors about actors, but so far out, those I don't feel like have any bearing. But I think this is a great choice for a director. When you talk to fans, the positive reactions to Thunderbolts, how he wrote the movie, how it was shot, how all of the heart mixed with the like tactile action, felt like a nice little reset back to what people love about the MCU, and not all of this like multiverse canon fan service stuff. So I'm hoping he can bring that to the X-Men movie if the MCU makes it that far. I don't fully understand like how fast and how much momentum does this MCU train have before it dies? What's it going to take for it to like really just sputter out and quit? They're finishing up the multiverse saga in the next couple of years, like year or two maybe. And after that, I think it's going to be more like down-to-earth X-Men type stories, which I think will be really good if they get there. If they can get there.
You know, you say the director from Thunderbolts, which I was really happy with. I enjoyed Thunderbolts quite a lot. But I did wonder, is this a situation like Rian Johnson's Star Wars trilogies, where it's like,
Right, exactly.
They like this. He gave us one movie, we really liked it. You know, as a studio, we're going to give him another X-Men movie. But then with this, I mean, it got pulled from theaters. It lost a bunch of money. I wouldn't even hold that to be like, that could change. Or it'll be like Rian Johnson's Star Wars trilogy. It's in the works. And it's been in the works for 10, 15 years and never going to see the light of day. So it is tough because, yeah, I think you're right. I do think this is all going to hinge on the next Avengers movie. And I think a little bit on Fantastic Four for the MCU, but it's really going to be about if Robert Downey Jr. returning, and this isn't oh my gosh, it's an amazing movie, a bunch of people went to go see it. People have to love it, and it needs to make a bunch of money. If both those things happen, I think the MCU is in its current iteration is done for now. And we could see a big gap between the next one. But it's most likely that, what would they start again? It's like probably an X-Men movie. That'd be the next one. But it might be, 5-10 years, which I don't think that's a problem either. Just like, I don't know. It's kind of cool the way the MCU is being created, because it's this one storyline that they could just pick up in 10 years and be like, oh, it's still canon. It's still the same, stories that we've learned, but it's new characters, new stuff, and they can be smaller stories and ramp up to something big, if whatever's successful, that's a hard part with the MCU right now, is they're not waiting to see what's successful to keep going. Like Iron Man was successful, so they made a second one, and then they led into Avengers, same thing with Captain America, Thor, like they just keep planning stuff and it's failing right now. So it's like, how are you keep going? Doesn't it seem like, oh, the Thunderbolts probably shouldn't have been in the next Avengers movie because it didn't do well financially, or that should have been a question. But by the time Thunderbolts comes out, they've already started shooting, so it's just kind of like, it's too fast to react to things. Like, oh, nobody went to see Thunderbolts. Maybe Yelena shouldn't be a main character in Avengers. I think she should be, personally, but it's like, that seems like the thing you should wait in, So I don't know.
I think if it makes sense for the story, then that needs to be what happens. If it's well written and those characters being there makes sense, then you have to do it. But there's the pressure from big Disney, the producers or whoever. Well, these characters on paper didn't make enough money to be in the Avengers movie. I know that exists, but I think it's ridiculous.
Yeah,
I think that is the wrong way to make movies, creative decisions about storytelling. Mm-hmm. You can't say we have these characters set up for 4 or 5 movies and their whole arc is going to be really, really good, and then be interrupted one movie in and have someone say, no, you guys didn't break hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. You didn't make that. So they're out of the story. And now your next movie story, because you've made a snap decision, is even worse. All speculation, but
yeah. I mean, we talked about the Thunderbolts budget, that it was higher than they announced.
Yeah.
And it's just like,
gross. How
are these movies? And this leads us into our next topic, which we're going to start talking about, the 28 Days Saga. The new one, 28 years later, cost $60 million to make, and the opening weekend, it's already broken even as the time of recording this. So like, it's like, if no one else goes and see this movie, it's paid for itself. Maybe, I don't know if that includes advertising budget, but just still, it's like a $60 million budget. I mean, they're talking about these MCU films are costing hundreds of thousands of dollars, double that for the advertising budget. And it's just, it's such a high movie. It feels like it has to be the hit of the summer to make money. And not everyone is going to be that. So it just seems like such a ridiculous bar to make, and
you also just like Marvel, we'll talk about 20 years later. That'd be really great. But it feels like Marvel at some point competes with itself.
Yeah.
At the height, they were releasing 4 movies a year. Could be more than that, I don't know, but I think there's a year or two where they did like quarterly a movie, and that's just fatiguing.
Yeah.
If it's not the greatest movie I've ever seen, maybe I'll wait 6 months and go see not the next one, but the other one. So then like the movies suffer, and it's just weird. The output is insane to me that Marvel ever got to the point where they could spit out so much content. 28 years later, had the better part of 28 years to make this third movie. I could do I'll do a spoiler-free.
Yeah. So I have
talk
not
about.
seen the movie. Andrew, you have. I'm
I
a
saw
fan of the
opening.
series. Yeah, I've not seen it. So
Yeah.
yeah, give us your spoiler-free thoughts.
Also a fan of the series. At this point, the movie's at a 5.5 out of 10 for me.
Whoa.
I think I have to stew on it. It's like right in the middle there. It's slightly better than totally neutral feeling toward it, because I think the bulk of the movie was really good, but I really struggled with the ending. I knew that they were hoping to do 2 more after this and kind of make this the beginning of a trilogy for this kind of story, but I just felt very unsatisfied with the whole arc that they had for this movie. Was the arc good? Yes. And I think I will probably watch it again. And then I'll kind of decide more clearly where it falls on like a out of 10 rating. I had a fun time watching it. It was not a waste of time, but it just felt like 3/4 of a movie. And it was 2 hours long, right? So how do you make a 2-hour long movie feel so unsatisfying? The last 10 minutes of it, that makes me like drop it down a whole 2 points, right?
Oh.
The things that I did see, like the other 90% of the movie, very fun, very unique. I love how, what's his name? Boyd was the director?
Danny Boyle.
Danny Boyle.
Oh, Danny
I
boy.
I knew you were going to do that.
The pipes are calling. Oh, Danny boy. I don't know the rest of the words.
I love how he does quote unquote zombies. I love the idea of the rage virus. He keeps the feel, the aesthetic, the style of his cinematography, stayed the same. Sometimes it's tough, dude.
Dude, talking is tough.
It was very chaotic.
Oh, no, we have a podcast.
Oh, no. Yeah, the style was very chaotic and disorienting, which I think is great for a series of movies based around the rage virus, right?
Yeah.
There are really fast, intense, snipped up sequences that make you feel anxious. One thing that I loved about it was that he still backlit a lot of the zombies, you could say, in the first half or a quarter of that movie. So there are a lot of stylistic decisions that aren't, like, the lighting isn't realistic, right? It's golden hour. Lots of stuff is just lit up. I'd be able to see that person standing on the hill. But the stylized choice to have on a hill a dozen completely black silhouettes of zombies standing there, oh, it's so scary. And I loved it. So all that to say, I'm going to see it again. The ending made it rank very low because I felt very unsatisfied.
Well, that's a bummer to hear that. It'll be interesting because
it's not a waste of time.
Yeah, I'm gonna see it. I love the series. We talked about this too, so we'll talk more about them. But 28 days later, just became available. It like lost its licensing for distribution in the U.S. for a while, so like you had to get it from like out of country DVDs, like Amazon used DVDs were the only way to watch that movie for a while, which seems so crazy. Like in 2025, you're like, oh, there's like a movie you can't just stream. Like that seems crazy, and now you can. So I really enjoyed the first like 2. I mean, I want to get into those episodes, but I was very hopeful for this one. Danny Boyle is back directing. Alex Garland is writing. Our boy that we've been talking about a lot.
Let's go, Alex.
He's doing the new Elden Ring movie, which we had a whole episode about. Go check that out. And that's the big thing is this is a trilogy. This is 3 movies. This is the first of those 3. So there was 2 original, 28 movies.
Days.
And then, days, and then weeks. And then there's this 28 years, and then it's 28 years, I think Bone Temple, I believe is the second one. And that's coming out next year. So,
Oh, that's nice.
yeah, when I hear you say it's a little unsatisfying, I find that to be a bummer because I want movies to stand on their own. I want, even I would say cliffhanger endings like Empire Strikes Back, it's still a satisfying movie. It's,
Right.
Some of those movies like, I don't know. I think the Harry Potter, the last one, Deathly Hallows Part 1 and Part 2, I would say that maybe isn't satisfying just to watch Part 1.
Yeah.
So
Well,
there,
it's labeled part 1, right?
yeah, it's a narrow line. In the Twilight movies, for
Bringing it back to the gospel. Here we go.
we all started with those. Come on, admit it. You love them. It's so
I didn't
funny.
watch it until I was like 23.
Yeah. Well, hey, they haven't aged well, but they were never good. So, and just like you just wait and you just like I watch them every day. So I don't know. I think that is a bummer. I am like, that's a bummer to hear you say that, but there is a sequel coming next year.
Yeah.
So it's like that kind of makes sense. I don't agree with that because I want it to stand its own, but
Yeah, standing on its own, I think, is important. The fact that in 12 months, roughly, we could have the next part of the story genuinely makes me feel a lot better towards that movie because then it's an editing thing. Very likely, they filmed, if it's that fast of a turnaround, they filmed everything for that first 2 movies, maybe all 3, we don't know, all in one go. And to me, when you are saying, here's the release date, June 2025, the next one's coming out spring, early summer 2026. To me, that means, it's like Lord of the Rings. They filmed everything in one go. The story was beginning to end written before they started. So from a storytelling aspect, I'm encouraged that this will feel satisfying with the second installment if it comes out very quickly, because they probably went right back to back and they just decided to edit. This is the end of the first movie because, well, for whatever storytelling reason for the second one. So that's very encouraging to me.
And that's got to be hard. And maybe I'll have a different perspective on it. But if I do feel that same way, it is interesting to think about directors saying they see the whole thing already. I mean,
yeah,
I would say it's got to be already shot for it to be a 2026 release.
They're probably editing it. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's probably at least fully written, So, yeah, I don't know. I have high hopes that it's doing well. So they'll definitely continue that sequel. It's not like going to die on the vine or anything. But let's get into kind of the 28 days and 28 weeks, because these are some interesting movies. Let's start with the first one. If you like zombie movies, if you enjoy Cillian Murphy, if you enjoy Military's Gone Bad and Rotten Eggs, 28 Days Later is the series for you. I don't know why that scene stands out. Like the guy's like, these are rotten eggs. You should have known, and it's a big thing. But man, this opening, you can see it's such almost, I would say The Walking Dead stole it, but that's
exactly what I was going to say.
At the very least, it's a huge homage, but it's the guy waking up from a coma in a destroyed town full of zombies.
28 Days Later came out in 2002. Issue number 1 of The Walking Dead was 2003. Here, let me grab something.
Oh, yeah. And Andrew is standing to his bookshelf, I'm guessing, with...
this here is compendium number 1 of the Walking Dead series. I'm a big fan. I've read all of the comics. First comic came out in 2003. So that tells me, in my heart of hearts, Robert Kirkman, you dog, you watched this low-budget zombie movie about zombies in Britain, and you went, that's a good idea. Who wrote that idea first? Because Robert Kirkman, very prolific writer. He's an incredible storyteller.
Yeah.
Is it possible that he wrote this story before 28 Days Later came out? 100%. But it's an interesting thing to notice that both main characters wake up several weeks after the outbreak of a zombie apocalypse in a hospital and discover they both have a hospital gown walk through a downtown area
Yeah.
and find out that way. It's just, there's too many things.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's interesting. It's 28 days later. Yeah, I would just say he stole it. I mean, that's I think that's the only way to do it.
you know what? I'm going to say it. He stole it.
It doesn't, I don't think it matters in the long run because, yeah, it was a guy at the time. It's interesting to see how series change and go. It was an indie comic writer who got an idea from an indie filmmaker,
Right.
So like, it's just kind of funny because it's two low things. And now I would say it's only because of these higher budget, the TV show, the continuation of the comics. 28 Weeks Later was a big thing. And Danny Boyle's gone on to do so many things we haven't talked about. Like, I mean, he directed Slumdog Millionaire and he's like Best Picture winner. He's in a lot of other things as well. Cillian Murphy, this is really early on in his career, 2002. Definitely stands out. And also Brendan Gleeson, which I always think about from Braveheart.
Yeah.
But he's great in it.
Cool.
And it's 28 Days. It is an indie film, so you do have to be a fan of movies, fan of indie films. It's not a Hollywood production for sure. And I think that's cool. I think it's really fun, interesting movie. Great ideas. Yeah, the rage virus specifically in these movies is really cool because it's not a slow, zombie threat. It's people freak out, and they like need to eat. Like, it's not like these are immortal zombies. They are like the 28 days thing too is like they all die off eventually from hunger, which I'm interested to see how they deal with that in 28 years later, but no spoilers.
Yeah.
So yeah, any thoughts? I do love to, again, I would say 28 days later, another thing that strikes out to me is somebody gets some blood from infected in his eye, and that turns him into one of
Gleason,
them.
yeah.
I wasn't going to say it just in case, but that's okay.
It's 28 days later.
I know.
Literally 23 years old.
It's true. You're right. But I wasn't going to say it, but
all right,
I'm okay with you say it. I'm keeping it in. But that is such a cool concept to me because it's not like if this was an infection that was so easily spread, you can't get blood on you. You can't get bacteria in your mouth or eyes. Like, it would infect you. So I don't know. I just think that's a really cool concept. But yeah, what are your thoughts on 28 Days?
No, it's a really great way to create zombies and without saying that they're the undead. Like, they come from the grave, like rise up, like original zombies in black and white movie, right? So I think it's a really cool modern shift. This was really the point. Walking Dead, 28 Days Later, 28 Weeks Later, were a big cultural shift of like zombies. What are they like? Now every zombie movie is disease based, not magic, I raise the dead based, right? So I enjoy that spreading of the virus. Even those aspects of that story are in things like Planet of the Apes, the modern Planet of the Apes movies. There's a virus that's spread through just normal, like, bodily fluid contagion, right? Spreads across the world and affects every person. I think that's it's a relatable, scary thing for me. Let's see. Big highlight for 28 Days Later. I want to say Chris Eccleston, but that's probably because I was a huge Doctor Who fan through Matt Smith. And he was the first Doctor for me, Chris Eccleston. So I like
Bananas.
West.
Bananas are good.
But we can talk about this when we move on to 28 Weeks Later. 28 Days Later with Colonel West, I think, or whatever his rank was. Chris Eccleston really shows something I mentioned before, that the 28 saga, the 28 Days Later series, there are zombies, so quote unquote, but the greatest danger is humanity still. Despite a rage virus, like crumbling society and entire governments, still the scariest thing possible is another person, right? Chris Eccleston is like sex trafficking people. And that's like way more frightening. It's like, okay, we can get
his character
house.
in the movie, but
Oh yeah, I'm sorry.
Christopher Eccleston.
Colonel West. Christopher Eccleston himself. Breaking news. No, I'm just kidding. Sorry, Chris. I know you're a listener.
Yeah. Hey, let's Chris, what was up with that dark elf? Malekith? What are you doing, bud? Let us know. Comment below.
Email. Oh yeah, comment. There you go. Yeah, so I just love that aspect. That's something, weirdly enough, that Walking Dead also does pretty well. So I think it's great. 28 Weeks Later is one that I've seen more recently than 28 Days Later. What are your thoughts about that one?
Yeah, I was gonna say I just watched this one. What went on in that movie?
Dude.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's bonkers.
So it is cool because this was a movie that Days was popular enough to kind of get a higher production, I would say Hollywood release.
There were definitely Hollywood paid actors.
Yes, paid
actors. A lot more
actors.
recognizable names.
Yeah, production, it just looked better. So this is the interesting part too, is that I thought I had it right here, 28 Days. It was not directed by Danny Boyle. 28 Weeks Later, sorry, was not. So 28 Days was directed by Danny Boyle. 28 Weeks Later was
you
not.
were like about to like rip my brain out of my head. I was like, 28 Days Later wasn't Danny Boyle? Okay, yeah. 28 Weeks Later.
Yeah. And so it was still written by Alex Garland, but I think you can definitely see that it wasn't quite the same. 28 Weeks Later is such a weird movie to me, especially because you're like, hey, I'm sure so many people are doing this right now. It's like, hey, I went to see 28 years later. I'm going to go watch the series. And they start with 28 Days. Like, wow, what a cool, interesting vintage, indie movie. Mm-hmm. And then you go to 28 Weeks and it's like, what? Starts off super interesting. Like they're mid-virus. A husband abandons his wife.
Yep.
And then you're like, oh my gosh, that guy just did that such an interesting thing. And then his kids, after they all clear, his kids show up and he has to tell his kids like, yeah, your mom, she's gone. I'm like, wow, super interesting setup for this. But then it just gets so all over the place. And then a main character, are we doing full spoilers for 28 Weeks?
I think so.
Okay.
Wow, why not?
Go watch it or skip this part if you don't want to hear spoilers. But
yeah.
So Jeremy Renner's in it and he's a sniper. It's really cool. I think this movie, the first third of it, or honestly 75% of it is really cool. It's really good setup, interesting. The rage virus. They find the wife and she has some eye condition, so the infection doesn't, she's a carrier, but she's not affected by it. So that's really interesting.
So to clarify, she's not a carrier because of her eyes, but her immune system in her body makes her a carrier and not like enraged, and you can tell because of her eyes.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, you said she has an eye condition that makes her a carrier, and I was like, no, cataracts don't make you.
No, it doesn't make her. Yeah.
Yeah.
Her eyes are weird, so she's a zombie.
Exactly. Exactly.
No, because of her eye condition, she was bitten by a zombie.
No, not because of her eye condition.
Well, no. Let me finish. That's it, Andrew. You're off the pod.
I'm off the pod. I'm off the pod.
Because of her eye condition.
Yes.
She is now a carrier, but not affected.
No.
Because of her eyes make it so when she gets bitten, she's a carrier.
She is non-enraged carrier for the virus, and you can tell because of her eyes.
But not because of her eyes, though.
Yes. Oh my God!
I feel like you're not hearing me. They say true conflict is when it's in two people who are trying to talk and no one is listening, and that's what's happening right now.
Amen. Okay, you let us know in the comments.
I just want to be heard.
does Andrew make sense?
I make sense, but I feel like you kept cutting me off because I was trying to say it's not because
I
of
let you
her
finish that
eyes.
one time, and I was like,
Now you got me all in my head.
Sorry.
I don't know what I'm saying
sorry, I'm sorry.
anymore.
Heath, I love you.
All right, here's what we're gonna do. As I was saying, I just muted Andrew, and it's a little too powerful. It's a little too good. I feel like it's just, you know what? I feel so much more relaxed. I feel refined. You know, I can just take my sweet time. Oh man. Oh, it's funny. You can still toggle your mute, but then I can mute it again. But that was so funny. Anyway, she is infected. She has the virus because she was bitten, but because of her weird body, she's not. She's a carrier, but doesn't show the symptoms.
Regardless. Okay.
Irregardless.
Irregardlessly.
Anyways, I think that's an interesting point of the movie. Apparently,
It's super interesting.
Yeah. What were we even talking about before that? You know, how did we get down this road? That's the real.
The first like 3/4 of the movie is really great.
That's right. So
They get there, find her mom.
a lot of interesting setup, but Jeremy Renner's character, which is so funny because he was in like SWAT around this time as well, and then he's in this. He's like, man, he's just a military guy, and then like kind of fell off until he
When he
came
got
back
to
as
like
Hawkeye.
Marvel, he's still like the sniper type.
Right.
person,
He's like, this is the guy that shoots stuff really well.
Yeah.
He gets his death in this movie is bonkers to me.
Yeah.
He's like, it's a classic, which I think it's done fairly well. It's the setup of like the car won't start, so somebody's gonna have to push it, you know. So it's like, okay, but then he gets out, and these guys are like, we just have to torch everybody because everyone's infectious. We got to get rid of the infected, which I would still say, but he's still in military clothes. Wouldn't the military guys be like, hey, that's Jerry over there. We should probably not flame Jerry, you know, but I don't know, whatever. Jerry.
We stand with Jerry.
We stand with Jerry. If Jerry dies, we riot. I don't think I know any Jerrys. I hope my life is complete someday. And I don't know, Jerry. How's your Jerry? Is he a good dude?
He's great. Yeah.
Shout out Jerry. So he's like pushing the car, and he's like, pop the clutch. And like as he's pushing the car, the guys are walking through like flamethrowing everything, and they're like see him, and so they flame him up. So as he's pushing the car, they torch him, and he's on fire. Like
Which is also
it's bad.
It's also weird. Like, would you see a rage-induced zombie pushing a car down the road, and you go get him? Like what?
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. I guess they're following their rules, but like I said too, I think you would still say, but that's another military guy. I mean,
yeah, I suppose you're right that they're just kind of killing civilians as well.
That's what they were told to do, is just kill everybody because we got to stop the infection. But I would still say, like, well, if they're torching even other military people, wouldn't they look at each other and be like, well, I guess we have to torch each other because they said everybody. They didn't specify.
The torch crew.
Yeah. Well, they're American though. No, get those British accents up here because the movie is very clear that the Americans.
Everyone but the torch crew.
Everyone but the torch crew. Give us your best American accent. Hey, Andrew.
Joke's on you.
Andrew.
I'm actually from New Zealand, and every episode I fake an American accent.
Dude, that would be so interesting. Breaking news on this podcast. But I've got a really funny joke for you. Do you want to hear it?
Okay. Yeah.
All right. You here. Say knock knock.
Knock knock.
Who's there? Gotcha.
What?
It's just a stupid joke. That's it. I made you
great.
try to tell me a joke. That's it. This might be the last episode of this podcast. There's a lot of.
We did fight on the air.
This was a lot of tension. This was a lot.
I know.
Oh gosh. So, anyways, yeah, it goes crazy. I think the moment this tips for me is the helicopter scene when they're like, "I'm gonna pick you up, man," and he goes, "Okay," which I love for the friendship of like Jeremy Renner and the helicopter pilot. Like you could just like, they're so over the top. It's straight up Predator. And like Hauser and Arnold just like bro high five. It's like, you're my man, like you're my dude, you know. It's like, hey, we're straight, but like, man, we would kill everyone. We'd kill our wives for each other. And it's like, all right, cool. Anyway, so they have a very ridiculous, I would say, kind of over the top friendship that are like, well, I'll do anything for you. But then he shows up and he's like, you got people with you, man. I can't pick you up. And then there's other zombies like going. And then one guy's like, you have to take me. And so he jumps in the helicopter and the guy freaks out for some reason. He's like, no, I'm not taking you. And then he's kind of going out of control, but then he purposefully attacks the zombies with the helicopter. And it's ridiculous. It's the craziest scene. I mean, I don't know. Every time I watch it, like, is this cool? Is this dumb? Is this the perfect mix of both? Yeah. Maybe. He's just like yelling as he's driving. Like, yeah! Just like, yeah, somehow the helicopter is fine, but mowing through all the zombies.
Cool. Yeah.
But then he still loses control enough that he has to go, a day flight away so they don't see him for another day.
Right. Hey, see you tomorrow.
So I think the movie starts off super interesting, gets weird. I think that's the part for me. And then so Jeremy Renner dies in the car push. The lady, it's kind of cool, but they have this whole scene where they're going through a tunnel and you can only see through her perspective because she has the only night vision scope. And it's kind of cool, but then she's killed on that camera and that's the only perspective we can see. And so it's kind of cool, but it's kind of like she just dies off screen. And then it's just the kids left. And then the movie just kind of ends, but then they're like, oh, but by the way, that kid was infected somehow, so he still passed on that. And then there's zombies in Paris.
Right.
So it just ends with a huge, crazy mess.
Every 28 saga movie, every 28 series movie has a point where it skips 28 days, which I think is cool.
Yeah.
Right? So 28 weeks later ends, then it goes 28 days later. And the whole premise of the second one is that all of the other nations are trying to contain and quarantine kind of like the UK, basically.
Yeah.
Watch. Oh, I'm showing my American ignorance. Yeah. Great Britain and the United Kingdom are all like an island, so that.
Yeah.
They're trying to contain it. So the movie ending with rage virus zombies in France. Big, how did that happen? I can't wait to find out in the next movie. You don't get one. Sorry.
Yeah.
You wait 18 years.
It was odd. So basically there was this 28 Days directed by Danny Boyle, Alex Garland. 28 Weeks was not directed by Danny Boyle. It was written by Alex Garland. And then there was talk of a 28 Months later coming out. And that was the plan. But I think the second one, I don't think it was for anything going wrong necessarily. It probably wasn't as big as they wanted it to be. And definitely kind of more conflicting. Like 28 Days, I think anybody who saw it would have said they really liked it. But then 28 Weeks later, there was definitely a lot of turnaround there. So Months, let me get to my notes. I apologize. My phone started to do a weird thing.
I also, while you're getting there, I think back to 28 Years Later for a moment, Alfie Williams was great in this movie. Yeah. He's like the kid. And I know him from the Taika Waititi movie, Jojo Rabbit. Oh, he's the little boy in Jojo Rabbit.
Oh, I love Jojo Rabbit.
Can you? Going out, I was like, I hope he's got the range and like the acting skill to not be just a comedy actor, right?
Yeah.
Oh, he did great. It was awesome. He did such a good job. So,
and the girl who plays the mom, I can't remember her name, but I was told that, I heard that she is really great in the movie.
She's very good.
Yeah, that's cool. So basically we talked about this before, but there was rights issues going on, kind of like the indie film director, like who actually owned is Danny Boyle didn't really own it fully. Right. So there was a little bit of that, little creative differences. The third one was just kind of wasn't that interesting to them. And then also stuff kept hitting. So there were so many, the 2010s were such a zombie craze, which I'd love to get into, because there were so many, like Underworld, Land of the Dead, there's so many, like Resident Evil, there was zombies and everything. Shaun of the Dead.
I think Train to Busan was in the teens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of those, and there's a lot of good ones. Walking Dead was huge. I mean, that was the biggest TV show. So all that kind of stuff, and I think there was just a lot of fatigue, and Danny Boyle just wanted to do other things. And it's so interesting now that Danny Boyle and Alex Garland, I assume, came up with an idea that they're like, we have a trilogy of movies. And I think it's cool too that this, to me, Danny Boyle seems to be a guy, like when you do a movie like Slumdog Millionaire, that's like gets you a best movie of the year. It's more of a obviously drama. It's cool that he's going back to something that he started, but that seems to be something that you love. It's just, I want to go back to the series. So I have high hopes for the trilogy for sure. And I think that's cool that this is kind of where it's going. And the only negative I've heard from you is just the fact that it doesn't feel like a complete story.
Yeah, I would say that's correct. Yeah.
That's your main gripe. And if other people feel that way, it's cool, because we're getting another one next year and then a third one to tie it up. So
actually, speaking of this Friday, let's do this first.
Yeah, let's do it.
Jurassic Park, Jurassic World Rebirth, apparently in early screenings has, quote unquote, recaptured the Spielberg magic. And I'm curious, Heath, what would that qualify? What qualifies as a Spielberg magic to you? Because we started the episode talking about a new Spielberg movie that's like his old style UFOs, adventure stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
If someone says this Jurassic World movie recaptures that original magic, what kinds of things are you looking for? I think something that's on my list is practical effects. I want to see some tactile, incredible practical effects and physical sets. Run dun 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 dun. Raising up the 50th edition Jaws onto the screen.
Oh, did you know I have that?
Oh, we might not have mentioned it ever. Oh, here it is. So, what do you think? What do you think?
Yeah, it's funny. You said Steven Spielberg magic, and to me that's John Williams.
Oh yeah.
And I really do hope. I haven't heard anything about this yet, and they're probably not even scoring it yet. But I would love to see if John Williams. We're only going to get a certain amount of John Williams movies, and I would still argue, like, man, he's the best part of every movie he's involved with. I mean, I love movies, but just the music in those movies, those classic, even The Force Awakens, I would say, man, with Rey's theme, he is still just like bum ba da da bum ba da da ba da 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 da, like still kills. And I'm just like, his music are amazing. His music is amazing.
Is
kick it.
What?
Beastie Boys.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I'm not old. Anyway.
She's infected because of her eyes.
Because of her. She has a cataract, and that's why she's feeling great. That's Alexander Desplat, or Alexander Desplat. I'm probably butchering that.
I like Desplat.
He is the composer. Desplat. Alexander is the composer for Rebirth. Encouraging news. This is his second collaboration with Gareth Edwards after Godzilla. So he composed for Godzilla, which I think is great.
Yeah.
So I'm encouraged. It doesn't sound like it'll be Jurassic Park, John Williams, but maybe I'm hoping for a moment, a little sprinkle of O.G. Williams' score in there.
I think we had a miscommunication again. I was saying I hope that John Williams is the magic, and I was thinking about the UFO movie that I hope he's involved in that.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. But back on track for Jurassic World Rebirth.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's hard to define what Steven Spielberg magic is. And we have a whole episode on Steven Spielberg movies.
We do.
But it's tough to kind what is that? And I think it's a mix of a lot of stuff. I think it is John Williams. It's a lot of cinematography. It's a lot of the feeling of his films. It's a lot of family. And I think his families and characters have a lot of heart, but they're messy. They're very like, there's real struggle, but you do feel like the sense of loyalty. And I think that's what's really comforting is like, E.T., the dad is obviously not involved and seemingly walked out on them. So like there is real conflict, but it's like the kids and the mom and this extraterrestrial, like, that they are bonded. They are together. They are loyal to each other. So it's kind of like we see tragedy as an outside thing, but our characters that we love are so loyal to each other because of, and I think you could point to a lot of that, even like Saving Private Ryan. They choose to be loyal to their mission, to Ryan, Nathan Fillion also in that
beautiful.
film.
You said that so well.
Oh, thank you. Actually, I think we were talking about Nathan Fillion off pod, so that probably didn't make any sense.
Yeah, the reference, yeah.
We were talking about Dr. Horrible's sing-along blog, so.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's kind of what touches on that Spielbergian magic. So, I mean, Jurassic Park, the original, I think it was that's a darker book than the movie for sure. I think.
Oh, for sure.
It's still a violent movie, but Spielberg kind of made it this, people die, but then the characters that you love survive, and there's a heart there, there's a loyalty there. So I think when I hear Jurassic Park, the Spielbergian magic, I think it is that bond of characters. Like your main characters are committed to each other, and things are estranged. Like 100%, there's going to be a divorced mom, a divorced dad that's showing up to be like, hey, I got to take care of you now. But then their bond is what's going to get us through. I don't know.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. That's great. I love that. I'm excited for this movie. I'm going to go see it.
Yeah, go see it this Friday. It's this weekend, so that'll be really fun. I'm going to try to see it. We're going to try to do some movie talks. It won't be this one together, but we'll definitely have some reviews for that one as well.
Is there a better use of the July 4th weekend feeling than going to see a new Jurassic Park movie? What an incredible feeling.
Yeah. I think, too, we talked about, like, yes, it's another movie that's had so many entries, but it does feel like a little fresher than superhero movies to me. Like, if you're like, oh, not another one, not a third Fantastic Four, at least it's new characters. How many times are we going to see Johnny being someone vaguely different, but still the same person? Have you ever noticed that whenever they're selling like a reboot, they're like, oh, he's not that, like Johnny Storm. Oh, the first movie comes out. They're like, okay, second iteration, with Michael B. Jordan. It's like, well, he's not like that. He's still like the goofball.
Still same character. Yeah, it's like type of guy.
Oh, this new guy. Oh, he's not as much as a womanizer as he was, but I mean, well, he's still the playful. Yeah. It's the same character, and it's also okay. Like, you're giving us a Fantastic Four movie. We could give you a breakdown of those characters and what their things are, But it's just, like, why are you fighting it? If you're fighting it that hard, then make a different movie.
Yeah. Man, it'll be a good weekend. All right. Speaking of R-rated movies, way to bring that up, Heath.
It's almost as if I was trying.
Superman is coming out next weekend.
Yep.
And the DCU, after this reboot of all their movies, all their films, they are currently in what James Gunn calls Chapter 1, Gods and Monsters. Now, a movie that kind of snuck into the lineup that was not originally announced early this year for the slate of movies for Chapter 1 is Clayface. And the reason that it snuck its way in is because Mike Flanagan, our boy Mike Flanagan, pitched this finished screenplay, to James Gunn and the other executives, I suppose, in a meeting, and they loved it so much they're like, we have to do this chapter, like this phase, if you will. And I'm so excited. Have you seen a lot of the Batman the Animated Series from the 90s?
Yes, definitely.
Do you remember the Clayface origin episode?
No. This was
No,
definitely
so-
another classic show that I wasn't allowed to watch, so I had to sneak into the basement. So my my canon knowledge is a little haphazard. I
Oh, no, that's all right. That's all right. Give it a watch. It's a great watch. So in the animated series, Clayface is a B-list actor, like a play actor. He starts injecting this serum into his face so that he can stay young and youthful, and he can get the girl because his like lady is going after some younger actors, and he wants to stay hip with it, right? The premise of this movie, the Clayface movie, is very similar to that. Hollywood B-list actor starts injecting chemicals into his body to stay like fit and beautiful and young so he can become relevant. But it's an R-rated body horror movie. And James Gunn, on a podcast a few weeks ago, said that this connected with him because he's a big fan, not just of horror movies, but specifically of body horror. And that's such an interesting, scary genre. I'm really excited to see Clayface. I'm excited to see where they go with this. Straight up, he's like, there's no way that it hasn't been watched by the people who grade like movies, right? It's like, there's no way that this movie is not R-rated, and that's what we're shooting for. We're looking for a genuine body horror movie to be a major installment in the DCU, and I love that. I think that's so cool.
Yeah. That's really exciting to me for sure. I think trying different stuff. I'm like, we've never had a Clayface movie. Let's do it, This Superman movie is going to be really interesting because this is once again trying to start the DCU. Mm-hmm. And I do question, I wonder, is this going to work? I mean, we talked about this before. It's like, I think it's got the best chance. It's a good director. He knows what he's doing. When was the last time you saw a terrible James Gunn movie? And I think that's what it would have to be to kill the DCU.
Yeah,
but
totally.
I'm curious how well. I was thinking about what I want this movie to be, and I think we talked about, like, does the Boy Scout model work anymore? Can it work? We talked about that with the One-Eyed Film podcast. And I think for me, it's just, if it has to be shown as a juxtaposition. I think we have to see some dark Lex Luthor. I think we have to see some dark side of this era that we crave Superman.
Yeah.
To stop that, and I think that's where we're going. But
yeah, I think that the Lex Luthor character will be the most interesting and compelling Lex Luthor that we've ever had, because he sees, we talked about AI right before this episode, actually, because Lex Luthor sees Superman how people who are AI dissenters see ChatGPT, right? You use your brain or you lose it. If you let ChatGPT do everything for you, make your grocery lists, like write emails for you, send a letter of regret and sorrow to a friend who's lost a family member. If you let GPT do all those things for you, then you lose the heart, you lose the compassion, you lose what it's like to be a human. And Lex Luthor sees Superman as that. And I think that foundation is something we've never gotten for his character. Because immediately you're like, whoa, Lex Luthor is against Superman because Superman takes so much weight off of humanity that they're getting lazy. And Lex wants humans to push, persevere, to learn and grow on their own. And Superman is holding them back in his mind. And I hear that and I go, oh, that's a good point. Superman is the Boy Scout, right? He's just trying to help. He's only help. But how does that inhibit other people from taking responsibility, from learning from their actions? Oh, it's going to be really good.
Yeah. Dude, yeah, I'm fired up. I'm interested. That's a really interesting concept, and I think that's going to be great. Yeah. All right. Well, I think we should wrap up there today.
Great.
We got more notes, but that's all we're going for. We're at our hour here, and I've got to edit and upload the podcast. So
Here we go.
Real quick, it's that time of year. It's the most sharktastical time of the year.
Ew.
Next week, Shark Week. Grab your loved ones, put on a shark movie, have a shark-themed cocktail. Happy Shark Week, everyone. It's here.
Happy Shark.
We don't even know exactly what we're doing. We're going to do some talk, at least a little bit of talk on the Jaws 50th anniversary.
Yeah.
We'll talk about what we're going to do. But yeah, Shark Week next week. It's coming. Get Christmas out of here. Shark Week.
Yeah, you know what? As a Christian, no more Christmas.
As a Christian, Shark Week is the way to go.
Shark Week is where it is literally at.
Yep. All right. Andrew, my comrade, take us home.
Thank you so much for tuning in today, everyone. We hope you've enjoyed listening to the show as much as we have enjoyed creating it for you. Remember, you can catch our episodes every Wednesday on any podcast platform, so be sure to add us to your favorites. Don't forget to swing by our TikTok and Instagram. Your likes, comments, and shares mean the world to us. We absolutely thrive on your interaction. We want to know what you have to say, so we look forward to hearing from you and interacting. Catch you next Wednesday. As always, go see a movie.
Go see a movie. Could you reboot your mic real quick? Sorry, I'm at computer and I was joking. That made it so stupid. Could you reboot your microphone?
Heath, has anyone told you you're an idiot?
You're an idiot. I'm an idiot.
You're an idiot.
You're an idiot.